Express on mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Yes. Well, I'm a little bit giddy this morning. It's World Food Day and I'm a lover of food. I'm kind of a foodie, so that's why I'm just all out to try something new today. That's my ambition for today. That's my vision, that's my mission. That's my philosophy for today, is to try something new, a new menu. That's what's on my mind at the moment. Well, it's mainland 98.3 FM. It's Trends in the Papers. It's time for us to look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our papers. We have our papers here, The Punch, The Guardian, and Vanguard newspaper in a particular order. And we'll be looking through, the major stories. We have Fuhad Sahid, who is going to join us via the phone line to give in-depth analysis to these stories that we'll be looking through. Well, we'll do this up until about 8:30. We'll go on commercial break, and then we're back for Mainland Focus. And that's the part where you, our listener, you get to be a part of the conversation, share your thoughts, your submission as regards the major stories, that we're going to be selecting this morning. Time check right now is 7:45 a.m. and my name is Omobola Sandra. You're welcome. Before we go into the major stories for today, just a quick, side conversation with Said Fuad. Good morning. How are you doing, Fuad?
Good morning, Sandra. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. North Korea and South Korea, whatever it is that's going on between them, North Korea has blown up the routes that lead to South Korea and all of that. So there's a Pyongyang Seoul, rift at the moment. We don't know what to make of that. And, some people are, of the opinion that, maybe, Pyongyang is looking at it that, Russia is doing something, Israel is doing something. Maybe we should also think of something and do. China is also doing something as well to Taiwan at the moment. So what's your thoughts, as regards global tensions, global conflicts at the moment?
It's nothing new, Sandra. Some of these conflicts are even older than us talking about it today. If you follow the trajectory, especially from the Second World War, how we got into a bipolar world, then eventually came into a unipolar world, the Cold War era, the Eastern-Western bloc controversies, and the fact that, look, at the end of the day, we have a world divided in two parts. Either you follow the Eastern bloc orientation or you follow the Western bloc orientation. And so nations pitching their tents, really, based on who they consider to be their friend. So you're going to continue to have these kinds of crises. At the end of the day, the bottom line is about dominance. It's about also the activities of the most powerful nations in the world. And I'm talking about the United States of America, Russia, and then in part, China's attempt to also want to dominate the world. So you have nations who have peace friends, who have also chosen friends. Nations who were brothers before, who are now divided. You know how the old Soviet Union got balkanized completely to now what we have as Russia and then other federative units that are now out of it. Of course, the same thing with North Korea, South Korea. That's one issue that would never end, actually. You have a more liberal, Western-oriented South Korea, whereas you have a close stake in North Korea, dictatorial, without any recourse to anything, openness or transparency when it comes to the ideals of governance. So you're going to continue to have these things because at the end of the day, it's about survival, it's about dominance, and then about control of power in this nation. So no matter what happens, these are things that probably outlive us too. I think this conflict crisis will outlive us. We'll continue to talk about it, we'll leave it, and generations to come will also continue to talk about it.
It's all right. Well, thank you very much, Said Fahad. Let's also look very, very quickly statement from Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iḻ. I'm sure we'll still look at it in the papers as regards, the tax reforms that are coming up. I know yesterday we started the conversation around, the fact that anyone who earns 100 million, is it 100 million or 100 billion now?
100 million.
100 million and above, they have to do something, they have to increase their taxes in order to be able to, yes, help, the downtrodden like us and all of that. But Mr. Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iḻ has come forward to say that Nigeria is not broke. That's the statement that I want to work with here, saying that Nigeria is not broke but has revenue leakage challenge. What's your take on that statement?
Well, we've always talked about it, Sandra. Yes, we have revenue leakage issues, but I think the bigger problem here is not even about the leakages with revenue. It's also about our expenditure pattern. The profligacy, the reckless spending, the corruption, which at the end of the day is one thing professionals like Mr. Iḍ really don't talk about. He's a tax expert, so his mind is always on revenue. How do you block these leakages? How do you harmonize the revenue stream, make more money for the country? I think the President Tinubu government is also happy with their revenue drive. I think what they are even saying is that in the last 6 months, they've been able to make internal generated revenue of about 9.1 trillion naira, as against about 4 trillion that happened last year, the first half of the year, 2024. But the question is, look, you make all of these monies, what do you do with it? Where does it end? How has it impacted on the lives of ordinary Nigerians? There's nothing has happened that has shown that there's a different pattern with our expenditure and the impact of all of these monies we are making on the living standards of the people. So I think for Mr. Iḍ, he might say, yes, we have a lot of leakages to revenue, but I think the bigger problem here is the fact that, look, even though little we are able to put together as revenue, we still waste away in extreme corruption, profligacy, and wasteful spending.
So we're back to the revenue spending problem here now. So it's just, what are we doing with the revenue? It's not really...
I have to agree with you, Sandra. You have always insisted that you think it's more of an expenditure issue, and I think I agree.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Fuad, before we go into the major stories as well, there's also the conversation around Nigeria's currency, according to Bloomberg Africa, is the cheapest that it has been in decades. But there's a statement that follows that, irks me a bit, and that's, saying that thanks to painful but necessary economic reforms to put the nation on a long path to recovery. So Nigeria's currency being the cheapest is to global trade advantage, isn't that? It's not to our own advantage as Nigerians or to Nigeria, because a weak currency confers some sort of advantage in terms of trade in the global market. So that means it's cheaper to buy from Nigeria than from Ghana and Ivory Coast. But what are we even selling?
We are not even selling anything.
It's okay.
So the reality is that, look, these so-called reforms, with all of this global appraisal we are getting, especially from these institutions, at the end of the day, while economists and other experts are looking at figures, it's also very important for us to look at the sociology behind their philosophy and their policies. Because at the end of the day, the figures would not really amount to anything if there's no impact on the living standards of the people. They keep talking about tough reforms, being on the path of prosperity and progress. Whereas people have to be alive, Sandra, to witness that prosperity they are talking about. If you understand what I'm saying. So as much as our experts will continue to talk about figures, look at data, we're also looking at the sociology and the philosophy behind all of these policies and how it's able to also sustain the people. We've talked about the Sustainable Development Goal. Any policy that you initiate, Sandra, that does not have that sustainable tendency and orientation behind it is a complete waste of time. Because what do you mean by sustainable policy? You must be able to take care of the current generation while not jeopardizing the future of the unborn generation. So it's about now and the future. What we have is a situation where they are telling us to look at the future, whereas now is suffering, now is dying. Now is it blown out of extinction, existence? So it has to be now and the future. But here the conversation is always about future. And at the end of the day, should this generation die for the prosperity that they are promising? And it's not the first time we've been talking about the future and prosperity for the future. We've had all manner of vision. Vision 2010, Vision 2015, Vision 2020.
now it's 2030.
Okay, so it's Vision 2030 now because they told us to be on this path for another 15 years.
Yeah.
So by the time you have 15 years to 2024, so we should not be working towards Vision what? And whereas while we are pushing towards that vision, the people of today who are in power are not changing their ways. They are not reforming anything. They are not sacrificing anything. The old ways that brought us to this problem is even bigger now. The corruption is bigger now. The wasteful spending is bigger now. So what exactly are we talking about?
All right.
It's all false projections.
Thank you very much, Fuad. And finally, before we get into the stories, the ways and means conversation, Fuad, is also another hot topic. I think we need to just, take a quick look at, the Buhari administration issued, whether legally or illegally, or whether in a clean way or in a
illegally, bypassing everything to do all that. So overshot the ways and means. So
yes, 30 trillion naira. 30 trillion naira. That's what was approved by the 9th National Assembly, and the Senate had said that that particular action has plunged Nigeria into indebtedness and economic crisis. But it's also very interesting to know that the president recently said we have cleared our ways and means debt of that 30 trillion naira, although even though we are still on 121 trillion naira debt.
But again, we are talking about figures here, Sandra. A lot happened under the Buhari administration, and I'm surprised that up till now we are still not calling people to question and making them face the consequence of all of the nonsense that happened in that era. But the reality is that, look, what has happened has happened. We have to move on with our lives. A lot of these politicians, yes, we have to move on. We can't continue to talk about the past and continue to make excuses for the failure we have today. So at the end of the day, we have to learn to move on with our lives and hope that what happened in that period will not repeat itself. You understand what I'm saying? So it's ways and means during the Buhari era what will happen this time, and we are hoping that things like that does not repeat itself. So while we are looking at figures, sorry?
No, please carry on.
So, but while we are looking at the figures, while we are looking at what had happened in the past, I think we just concentrate on what we have now, demonstrating poverty. The multidimensional poverty, the very fortunes of Nigerians when it comes to businesses and the economy of the country.
Fuad, I just remembered something. So the Minister of Power said we did not have a national grid collapse. What we had was inconsistent trip-off.
He said it was a trip-off.
He said it tripped off. Oh my goodness. I just remembered that. I said, wow, that's amazing. We've not heard from Minister of Power in a while.
Why I consider Minister Adelabu as one of active ministers. Don't let me use the word performing ministers. He's very active. He's been doing a whole lot, really. I still think he has a problem with information management. I'm telling you. Remember the last time when he was talking about Band A, and he had to take the Minister of Information to caution him and say, don't talk about people leaving their fridge on without switching it off. He was almost going to go into that conversation, and it had become extremely ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
So, as Mr. Adelabu looks a very active, hardworking, he looks committed to the job. How well he's doing the job is another conversation. But when it comes to information management, I think the Ibadan just comes out. Apologies for that, Ibadan people.
No, but seriously, I think it's just, because they don't have censor. They just say
just throw it out. So, but they give beautiful people, but when it comes to just putting it out, they say the way they want to say. They don't care.
Very blunt and straightforward. No.
So, but there was a twin collapse. Sandra, it's not even one great collapse. There was one that happened Monday evening, and another one happened yesterday morning while they were trying to restore it. So, if the man is saying it was a trip-off, no, it was actually even a twin collapse. And the TCN guys had said that, look, we are having struggle even bringing the grid back. As we speak, most parts of Nigeria are still not without power. Power supply has not been restored to most parts of the country. In fact, some places in Lagos are still without power since that Monday, as we speak. Because what you have is that the discos are getting small rations of power supply from the transmission of a company. So I don't know where Mr. Adelabu is coming from, because all he wanted to do was say, look, yes, there was a trip-off, but we're quickly able to attend to it and restore it. look, there was a collapse. It was not just once, it was a twin collapse. And one of the problems we try to solve a problem, Sandra, is that if you don't admit that there's a problem, you can't find solution to that problem. You must first admit that there's a problem.
Maybe
be truthful about it to look for solutions to it.
Maybe the Ministry of Power should probably get a spokesperson or a PR person to handle their information dissemination. It's all right. We wish them all the best on that one. I don't know. Baba says strip off is not great.
Like I said, it's very busy, very hardworking. Not missing in action as a minister under this administration.
It's okay.
But I think with information management, he can do better.
We are seeing his hand. All right, time check right now is 7:58 a.m. and you're still on to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. I was saying earlier on that it's World Food Day, so maybe it's, if you have something to share with someone, please do well to do that because it's just very important for us to do what we can to help who we can. And all of that. All right, moving on now. The major headline on the front page of the Punch reads, marketers plan petrol import to bridge shortfall. And we have a rider here that says, Dangote not producing enough to meet domestic demand currently, dealers claim, as Ipman loads NNPCL PMS. Fuad, we're back to this conversation as regards, Dangote not being able to meet up with local demand. And what we have now is that the oil marketers are saying that the volume that's produced by Dangote is currently not enough to meet domestic demand, and based on this they're going to import the commodity to augment what they have or what they are getting from the Dangote refinery. And this is in alignment with the Trade Union Congress to demand that the refinery should ramp up production, as some allege that the plant was producing 10 million litres of petrol daily, as against the 25 million litres that it earlier promised to produce. And there's been a lot of back and forth as it is now, but NMDPRA mentioned earlier sometime in February that the refinery would supply 25 million litres of petrol to the Nigerian market daily starting from September, and this would rise to 30 litres from September, but then at the NMDPR headquarters, NNPC reached an agreement to commence crude oil sale. The refinery is now poised to supply initial 25, but now the difference is the case, basically. So what's your thoughts on that particular one? Dangote has, remember earlier on, Dangote said, have you come to our refinery and we didn't load your trucks? That was, the question that was posed by Dangote to NNPCL then. But now it's the marketers that are talking and saying, oh, we are not getting enough from Dangote, or that the production from Dangote is not enough to meet their demand.
Well, Sandra, with due respect to our editors and our reporters, I think we're having too many speculative reports from the papers on what is happening with the oil sector, especially when it comes to petroleum products, its availability, Ipman, Moman, Dangote Refinery, NPCL. A lot of times, again, recently I've seen that you see the papers always quoting anonymous sources. Oh, I'm not an anonymous source who is not permitted to talk said that, so it's becoming too speculative, really. Because if you look at this particular report, I read through the report, I was hoping to really get to the crux of the matter to see where all of this is coming from. Because, Sandra, marketers have not been able to import anything for almost a decade now, right? They've always relied on the NNPCL to do that. So what has suddenly changed? What do you think has changed that will now give the marketers the leverage or the capacity to import petroleum products into the country now? Look, the only thing the Ipman guys can do is to continue to wait on Dangote and hope that, they will be taking off this, strong apron string of the NNPCL and be free to deal directly with Dangote Refinery. Up till now, even if you look at the report, Dangote has not officially told us what his daily production capacity is, especially with PMS. It is NNPCL or marketers that are speaking for it. Like you rightly pointed out, Dangote has said that, look, there has never been any time you guys have brought in your trucks and have not been able to load it. But you keep going out to tell people that don't have the capacity to meet the local demand, and so you have to continue to import. I feel there's something somewhere about a deliberate narrative that is being put out there to continue to justify the need for us to continue to import petroleum products. Dangote has told you that its refinery has the capacity to meet our local demands when it comes to refined petroleum products. The major problem with Dangote refinery in not being able to do that is that as a people and as a country and as a government, we have not been able to supply enough crude locally. If you understand what I'm saying, I think that if there's a serious commitment from this government to ensure that, look, when it comes to refined petroleum products, we say bye-bye to importation. We can at least start with the Dangote refinery. But you know where the corruption is, Sandra. The corruption, the whole, secrecy you have in the oil sector is still on the fact that, look, people are still hell-bent on ensuring that we continue to import. So I don't know, where will the dollars come from? Where will the marketers get the dollars, Sandra, to import petroleum products? They will go into the black market to source for dollars at almost 1,700 to import the product. Even the NNPCL that is able to bring in, they are only leveraging on the fact that they are selling crude oil. So they have access to dollars at that level to be able to bring in the product. So an ordinary marketer would reasonably go into the black market to exchange dollars to import petroleum products into the country. I doubt that if that's going to be possible, Sandra. So I think most of these reports are too speculative and, not really giving us what is really happening. There's a lot happening that we don't know about, really, Sandra. We've been trying to dig into these things, but the level of secrecy is unbelievable.
All right, well, as it is now, the Vice President of IPMAN, Ahmed Fashola, has mentioned that the association will soon commence importation of PMS.
Wait to see how they are able to do that.
Saying that, I quote, "We have acquired a tank farm in Calabar and another one in Lagos. We are positioning ourselves for the new era. We will not disclose the capacity of the tank farms now. We are free to start importation. With the new development, we are going to get our import license soon, even as we are going to get it."
You have the import license.
Even as we are going to get
those marketers that got the license to import before, did they bring in anything?
Hey, remember there was one time they said they brought in 141
Which did you see anything?
I didn't see.
This IPMAN guys actually just bought tank farms. They are waiting to get their own license.
They said they are waiting to get. We are going to get our import license soon, even as we are going to get a license to buy from Dangote. So it's good to have 2 or 3 places to source for your products from. And when he was asked why they are planning to import at a time that the government is trying to stop importation, Fashola, responded. That's Ahmed Fashola now, please. That's IPMAN Vice President. He responded, said, "Once there is full deregulation, everybody is free to bring in their products. And if the government doesn't allow that, we will come back to square one. Monopoly will set in, which is not too good for Nigerians. You must have an alternative in life. When you don't have an alternative, everything stands still." And that's, his own thoughts as regards.
I know that the solution would always be, there's food regulation, everybody can bring in anything. I'm just saying that, where would they get the dollars from? From the black market at this rate? And they think it's going to be good business for them to be able to bring in the product. Like I said, even the NNPCL that's able to bring it. Look, even the big guy in NNPCL, what did they tell you happened to their suppliers recently? They were still owing. They were still not able to pay.
Well, it's also important.
They still ran into trouble.
It's also important for us to know that another marketer has mentioned that up till now, no marketer has lifted PMS from Dangote. The major marketers are only lifting NNPCL's allocation, just like when NNPC imports and distributes
so that
them.
statement of, we are no longer the off-takers, anybody can go in there directly. You see that up till now, nothing has changed. The statement changed, but nothing on ground has changed.
Well,
in practice and principle.
The conversation is, for further details rather, it's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, 7 minutes past 8, and you're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. Moving up now, we also have here, high petrol price pushes inflation to 32.7%. So yes, inflation is up again. And that's on page 33 of the Punch newspaper. So that's what, spiral effect basically of the cost of PMS, okay, and affecting other commodities. So headline inflation for September was 32.7 after slowly, consecutively dropping a bit and all of that. But what we have now, the latest, there's a marginal increase of 0.55%. Okay, and report coming in now is that report coming in is that Nigeria would experience further rise in inflation, largely driven by a significant hike in the price of petrol. So that's the projection. Yes, basically. So we are looking forward to even higher.
4 times ahead.
Yes.
That's the summary of it. 4 times ahead for people. I don't know what the policy of the government is, really, Sandra.
To do what?
Tackle the rising price of goods and services, Sandra. I don't know whether there's a policy on ground. I think there's somewhere in the papers now where the Minister of Finance is still talking about the
20 million. I don't want to talk about that for I'm so sorry.
We have to, so that people understand that people are not doing anything. They are not ready to do anything serious about the problem.
It's on the front page of the Punch. Federal government plans cash transfer for 20 million poor Nigerians.
So we are still on that cash transfer.
Apparently.
Which Sandra, oh my goodness. What is on ground now?
I want to know how much.
Okay, how much are they transferring?
Yes, that's what I want to find out. How much are they transferring?
I checked through the report. Maybe I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either, so I don't know. Maybe the papers have something to show.
How much would you transfer to people now that can really mitigate, alleviate the suffering we have now from this rising cost of food? Food particularly, Sandra. Services, yes, too, because people have to patronize people who offer different services. But food prices have gone through the roof. Unbelievable.
And food inflation is at about over 40% as well.
So what are we talking about here?
So there's food insecurity.
And you remember that there have been all manner of things that have been announced by the government that has amounted to nothing, really. This conditional cash transfer, we'll do this, we'll do that. They keep making headlines, and in reality, there's nothing to show for those headline making statements. Where's our soup kitchen in Lagos, Sandra? We keep remembering this.
It's you that keeps remembering, and I wish you all the best as you search out for that soup kitchen. But is it Onjeko, the one?
Not Onjeko. Are they still selling the Onjeko?
They're still selling too. The one at Idioro is thriving. I don't know. I've not been there, but it's just right there. I know I pass it, and I see a lot of people coming in and going out. I'll be going in and coming out.
So that means Onjeko is still.
Well, I don't know about the soup kitchen.
Somebody is telling me there's no Onjeko again. That's what I'm hearing now. Somebody just told me that there's really nothing like Ǹjẹ́kọ́. I don't know. I have an information.
So you have an unnamed source that we cannot trust. We are not working with that, please. I'm sorry. There is soup kitchen. There is soup kitchen.
Maybe our callers would help. They can, or maybe send a message on Facebook.
It's just the same way. We try to find out who are the people that have benefited from the cash transfer.
I was in class yesterday, and when we talk about policy failure, like developmental policy failure. So one of my, colleagues in the class now told me about the story of ⴤ Osun State. How the former governor, Rᴇᴜ, came up with ⴤ from primary school people. They were distributing tablets then to them. And I asked him, where is your ⴤ? And I said, they don't even know where your ⴤ is. Because of him that came with it. In a state like Osun, where, the only thing the governor thought he could do at that time was to give tablets to children, downloading all manner of things. People were saying that, look, these are children who are not even able to feed themselves to come to school. I think a tablet really was a misplaced priority of some sort. That's what my colleague was telling me, because he's from Osun State, he understood what had happened at that time. He also talked about the fact that there was vested interest in that
tablet.
That maybe the son of the governor was the one that got the contract or something at that time. So at the end of the day, the new governor came in, both your ⴤ anymore.
Is that right?
It's no longer available.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. All right, it still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. And moving on now, we also have here on the front page of the Punch, federal government hired 6 SANs for Lagos Calabar highway suit. So 6 senior advocates of Nigeria are to defend the lawsuit initiated by aggrieved persons concerning the construction. And one of the legal suits is seeking information regarding the 15 trillion budget allocation. And the names of these SANs are highlighted here if you want further details as regards that particular one. But then The story is on page 33 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here federal government plans cash transfer to 20 million poor Nigerians. That's on page 34. Okay. Minister of Economy. Yes. So it's very interesting that the recognized one. But apparently, and those 4 seats supposedly be doing plenty things. But that's the update as regards. Okay.
Will be
no.
We can't make any progress in this country with the kinds of people when it comes to nation building. Because these are people who are not committed to anything for them.
All right.
And so my prediction is that this reverse matter will not end anytime till the end of his administration. Whether he will get a second term or not, time will tell. But that this is maybe more people will die at the end of the day. Since five people will die to
suspensions. Undo attend to watch and painful that.
The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Thank you for staying with us. It is still Mainland 98.3 FM. Moving on now to the Guardian newspaper. You're on to trends. And as it is now 2025, and that's 0.6 million hectares of land have been inundated by flood and climate-induced issues and insecurity, which we have been hammering on, especially when the Borno flooding happened a month ago or 2 months or so ago. And we also have the fact that 50% of fresh agricultural produce in Nigeria is lost during the post-harvest stage. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. There are writers here. Nigerians are dying of hunger. Food availability is a major challenge, says Yusuf. Children are suffering. Parents are hopeless. Spiking on month-on-month inflation raises fresh anxiety. So, amid worsening food crisis rocking the polity, more Nigerians are assuming the beg, borrow, or steal desperate mode of survival. Fuad, your thoughts?
Well, is there another thing to add? Anything to add, really? The Guardian newspaper, a fantastic story. Well put, honestly. Well put, paying attention to this thing. I think reading this report, I know the problem of fact. People might be entitled to their different opinions, but the fact is the fact. That is the fact. Is the government doing anything about helping to tackle what we have now? God forbid bad thing, if you ask me. So what are they doing about it? You can't continue to tell people, look, it is even so that our own situation is a helpless situation, Sandra. When it comes to their own needs and that of their colleagues and family members and themselves, they are quick to sort themselves out. They need SUVs, they buy it. They need this, they do it. The vice president was telling us that there's no other way. That's a vice president that recently got his apartment renovated with 21 billion. The president will tell you there's no other way. But he was quick to quickly buy an escalade. What happened to the vehicles that Buhari was using? We have about 6 jets in our presidential air fleet. He needed to quickly buy another one. They are still budgeting humongous allowances. Sandra, if you go through our 2024 appropriation bill, the budget, you feel sorry for this country. The ridiculousness that comes to the appropriation, the wasteful spendings, all manner of corrupt, packaging and what you have. We have a National Assembly that will tell you there's no other way. But look at how much they are getting every month for practically doing nothing. For being a rubber stamp, practically. So it's not for us as a people to decide I want to continue with our lives. And that's why I have always told people who are scared to listen. Find a way to take care of yourself. The money shows the day. It didn't take me so long to understand that, look, we are in for a long ride to a helpless situation if we are not careful. We're just hoping that the government will do something about what we have. Look at what they put in the report. Nigerians have now resolved to borrow, beg, or steal to survive.
No, that's
and what does that tell you, Sandra?
Even it's all tied into one. It all spiral effect just goes on and on into one way or the other, because findings have shown now that with the rising food scarcity and unaffordability, there are a lot of people that are being pushed now more into poverty, increasing their vulnerability to insecurity,
to crime and criminality.
So that's it. So it's a spiral effect. It's just going on, and then the problems just keep getting worse. All right, well, as it is now, evidence gathered across major cities nationwide revealed that the group of street and corporate beggars have significantly increased, with food being the main motivation. There are some people now that, they're coming to, they approach you not to ask for money, they approach you to buy food for them. Yes, just buy food for them. They're not,
Didn't you see the video of somewhere, I think in Lagos Island, where there was this long, embarrassing queue for people to just take a loaf of bread? Yeah, Lagos.
All right. Well, so help us God. To have even just a meal a day now is a serious problem in this country, and a lot of people have been asking, where is our Minister of Agriculture? The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. I always get up his name, but every time I want to talk about it, I forget. It's Abubakar something, but I know that, we definitely have one.
I'm sure there are ministers you cannot really just forget their name. We have a lot of ministers who
I
are...
can't forget this ᴏᴜᴜ name.
Adelabu, or the Minister of Info. But when it comes to Minister of Agri, it makes a cameo appearance. Once in a while, it just comes in, makes a statement.
I don't know about that. I don't think so. The last time I heard of a Minister of Agriculture, or heard his name, or saw his face, was when they were doing the review, ministerial review, performance review.
Once in a while, he makes a cameo appearance, just says one or two things.
It's okay.
And it's always in this very big agenda. I think that man should be wearing short sleeves now, boots, in
market. He should be the one
driving the agri-revolution.
That vegetable woman that we always talk about in your office. He should be the one carrying vegetable and train us how to farm. Don't you think?
He's not. I don't even know whether he's a farmer to start with.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let's leave that. It's okay.
But again, it's even on what is the policy of the government. There was a time they talked about reserves. And they were going to open the grain reserves. Blah blah. We didn't say anything. They've talked about hectares of land have been reserved for farming. Blah blah blah. They said the state governments will be brought into. I don't know whether there are even state governments who are on any agri-revolution as we speak, in anything meaningful with agriculture.
Well, that's that as regards that. This is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. 25 minutes past 8, so we're rushing quickly through the rest of the stories. We have here, your policies are punishing Nigerians, professional bodies tell Tinubu. And that's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. I also have here, Nigeria and others may need 100 years to end extreme poverty, says World Bank. I don't know about that.
100 years.
God forbid. I don't know what to say.
We need 100 years.
That's what they're saying.
The World Bank.
Yes. It's on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper.
What they are telling me is that in my lifetime, I will not see the end of poverty in Nigeria.
God forbid.
Are they saying it's a hopeless situation?
So that's what they're saying. So what they're saying now is that low and medium countries across the world which are battling extreme poverty, including Nigeria, may need upward of 100 years to end the scourge. And according to them, a poor person is defined as someone who lives on less than 10,000 per day. However, extreme poverty is someone who lives below 3,000 per day. And so latest, projections have confirmed that the first post-COVID assessment of global progress towards ending poverty and increasing prosperity. So extreme poverty remains concentrated in countries where historically they have low economic growth, but we don't. I mean, in 2014, Nigeria had the highest had the best performing economy in Africa, not just Africa, I think some parts of some regions of the world as well. But it's just really unfortunate. Said that we need 100 years now. So Fuad, I wish you all the best as I japa from this moment.
I've seen nations that did it in less than 3-4 decades. There are stories of nations that were able to move from underdeveloped to developing, and then now developed nations. They did it in 3, 4, 5 decades.